You ever wonder if your mind has a lot to do with your outcomes, whether you're successful at something that you really want to do? Obviously, you're thinking, yeah, of course, the answer is yes. So how do you use the power of the mind to achieve what you want to achieve, even if it seems difficult or even impossible? Can you get your body and your mind and your physiology in a state where it can achieve something extraordinary? It's about bringing yourself to a moment in time when you've already accomplished something, using that to go to the next level. I'll tell you a quick story, and this is something I go back to on a regular basis. So a long time ago, when I was in my mid-20s, I got my black belt in Taekwondo. I was in chiropractic school, and I started working for a gentleman named Dr. Jim Jenkins. Now, Dr. Jim Jenkins was a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo. He also had trained in judo, and he was also a former Mr. Ohio bodybuilder. So this guy was jacked and flexible and fast, and he could kick you know what. I started working for him, and I noticed a lot of other people who were working for him were going to his Taekwondo school. I said, hey, I want to start learning Taekwondo with you. He said, come on out. So I started out as a white belt, and I worked my way up the ranks. I got to a point where I got my blue belt. So when you get your blue belt, you have to learn to break boards. The blue belt board break technique is a side kick. I've just gotten my blue belt. The other instructors are there. Dr. Jim is there. The other students are all there. And so the way you practice board breaks is 2 people hold the board, one like this, one like this. So they stand next to each other holding the board. And back then when we were training, we had these plastic breakaway boards that if you hit it just right, it breaks, but then you can snap it back together. It's pretty easy to break. And you practice with those. So the instructor I was with got one of those, had 2 people stand holding it, and said, okay, hit it with a side kick. So I stepped into it and I kicked. And I missed. It didn't break. I tried again. I'm not hitting it. I'm not breaking. Nothing's right. This is supposed to break pretty easily, and it's just not breaking. A couple of times I'm missing so bad, I'm hitting the people's fingers. Then Dr. Jim, from across the room, notices that I'm struggling with this side kick to break a board. So he comes up to me. He goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm trying to break the board. He goes, you're not ready. And he told the other instructor that was working with me, he said, go up to the attic and get some real boards. And those are the boards that you actually break for competitions. And he goes, you only brought 2. Go get another one. We need 3. I'm thinking, 3, the more you put together, the harder it is to break. So 1 board is easy to break. 2, if they're stuck together, it literally is like breaking a 2-inch piece of plywood. So you got another board, and I've got 3 of them. He goes, hold the 3 boards. So the same 2 people are now holding 3 boards, 3 inches thick. The style I was with is very traditional. He goes, tree up, which means prepare. He goes, kunye, bow. So I bow. And he goes, chumbi, which is get into a ready stance. And he goes, what are you going to do? So what I'm supposed to do is put my hand up like this, say, permission to break, sir. And he comes up to me, grabs the lapel of my uniform. He's shaking me. He goes, you're not ready. I go, okay, what do I need to do? He went through some techniques. He goes, okay, you need to rotate your leg this way. You need to wind up. You need to look here. And you need to explode through the board with your heel. But you got to be ready up here. Everybody, so there's all these students in the class. He goes, everybody come over here. So there's a circle of students and instructors all around, big circle, and these 2 people are holding the board. Now I'm really nervous, so all these people are watching. And he goes, Amir's gonna break these 3 boards. Same thing. Tree up, kunye, chumbi. What are you gonna do? Permission to break, sir. Because you're not ready. You are not ready. He's yelling at me now at this point loud. You are not ready. Grabs me by the lapel, shaking. You are not ready. You got to get ready. And so then he starts clapping like this. Then everybody who's around, they start clapping in unison. So it's just a clap, 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 but it's getting louder and faster. So whoom, 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 whoom. And then it gets louder and louder and louder. Now there's all this energy. Then they start yelling and hooting and whistling and hollering and like, yeah. And it's getting really, really loud. I can feel the energy in the room just going through the roof. And he goes, over all the sound, I can barely hear him because it's so loud in the room. He goes, tree up. I go like this, kunye. I bow. And you're supposed to yell ATA, which is American Taekwondo Association. Chumbi, what are you going to do? Permission to break, sir. He goes, break it. And I don't know what happened, but I flew through the air. My foot went through those 3 boards. They shattered. They went flying everywhere. First, I never even practiced. Since Dr. Jenkins walked over and told me you're not ready, there was no practice. The whole time he was getting me ready up here and in here emotionally. Had nothing to do with the actual technique. When I had that charged energy, I had already done a side kick multiple times. You can't get your blue belt until you've practiced these techniques, but now you're doing it with power and force. You can break actual boards with 3 boards. Do you know, after that, I never missed a side kick ever again. I was actually one of the best people at breaking boards at side kicks, and I never missed after that. A minute before it, I could barely hit it in the center, let alone have enough speed to go through the board and break it. And that was a plastic breakaway. But these were 3 1-inch thick boards stuck together, and I shattered it, and I didn't even feel it on my foot. That's how fast my leg moved. And then I could, every time I was gonna do a break with a side kick, that's the mentality. And even in competition, when we were sparring, if I saw an opening for a side kick, I knew I was gonna land it, and I knew my opponent was gonna feel it. That's the power of the mind. That's the power of the state you can get into. If you can get yourself in that state, physiologically and emotionally, and mentally, you can accomplish things you didn't think you could. Go back to a time in your life when you felt invincible. Go back to a time where you felt like you can't lose. The glory days, whatever it might be, everybody has them. There's a moment in time where you just felt amazing. Relive that moment and then ask yourself, what was I thinking? What was I feeling? And what was I doing? And do that. Now bring that to the present and then approach what you're gonna do with that same energy and state, emotion, and thought process. You will be successful. Put it to action. Let me know how it does for you. Comment, subscribe. Please like the channel and share it. And I'll be back with more later.